Howdy, everybody. Today, we're going to get into the programming 101 for our core accessory. Katie and I are going to take you through what it's like to design a program for that beginning male or female. Better words would be hunk or hunkette. And we do have YouTubes also to complement these. We have videos within the platform, but this will be your main go-to for that first assessment that you have, whether if you're working in a corporate gym like an Equinox or Crunch, or if you're doing it independently. This is what you're going to do for that first workout. Obviously, you've done your PAR-Q, physical activity readiness questionnaire. You've eliminated any red flags. You've screened them. The 9 checkpoints are good to go. Again, ankle, knee, hip, lumbar, thoracic, cervical, shoulder, elbow, and wrist. Now we're going to show you what that program would look like. And so I've been training for a very long time, and I came up with this system with really through Dr. Chaliwa. He'll talk a lot through our calls that we'll have with programming. He'll talk about a core movement. He'll talk about an accessory. And so in the NSCA world, National Strength and Conditioning, you'll see programs a lot of times written as a 1, and then they'll have an A and a B. And so then 2, A and B. And so what this means is you'll finish 1 and then go to A and then go to B, and then you'll rest accordingly. If you're doing strength training, you'd probably rest maybe 2 to 4 minutes, and then you'd go add weight for the second round. Each round, we will be adding weight unless otherwise specified. So for example, right now in person in West Hollywood, Ivan is teaching. We're doing some PAP training. This is more advanced, but it's called post-activation potentiation. He's doing a heavier squat into a jump, into a bicep curl. He would rest, and then he'll go into the second round. On that third round, maybe he wants to change up the type of jump from a vertical to a broad. That would be okay. But for this, what we're going to show you today, we have our core movement patterns. And this is what we use at Show Up Fitness, core movement patterns. You can type in movement patterns. Some people will say there's 6. Some people say there's 5. A buddy of mine, John Russin, talks about the squat, the hinge, the lunge, the push and the pull, and then a carry. We've, through our experience, working with general population, and that's going to be 95% of the clients who I've trained, who we train in West Hollywood, Santa Monica, La Jolla, pretty similar to what you have there in the outskirts of Memphis, right, Katie?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you're going to have your typical goals with your male. Android shape. So they have the apple, big belly. That's the visceral fat that we want to get rid of. It's a lot more problematic for coronary artery disease. So we want to focus more on upper body. And then we want to complement with our arms, maybe some traps and abs. Guys want 6 packs. Girls typically want flat tummies, small waist, big old kabunk.
Oh.
There you go. Kadonk is what I was trying to say.
Oh, God.
and so we are programming stereotyping off of that. Great trainers like you who are watching this, you will definitely come to times when it's not always going to be like this. And that's okay, because you're smart enough to know when to regress, when to progress, and when to add in any variation based on what the client wants. So the core movement patterns, we have a squat and we have a hinge. So the difference between squat and hinge, one is more hip dominant, which will be more of our glutes. One will be more knee dominant, which will be more of the quads. Our glutes are working when we're squatting. Our hamstrings are synergistic when we are doing the hinge. We can change the torso angle to put more of an emphasis. So then we have a unilateral. I don't like lunge, because when you see lunge, you think I have to do a lunge. I prefer doing a step up, more regressed, analyze my client's movement, 6 to 8 reps per side, because it's kind of like cardio. Lower body's like cardio for your clients. And then I will progress accordingly. Maybe in month 2 or 3, I'll start getting into lunges. I just see too much lunging and we don't have the core competency. So you want to start with the competency, own it, and then you progress. So unilateral could be a lunge, but for the most part, we'll do step ups. And then we have a vertical push. We have a vertical pull. We have a horizontal push. We have a horizontal pull. And then we have a transitional. Transitional could be anything from a carry. We're doing a lot of suitcase carries on Instagram. Josh and Travis have put out some great stuff on that. Farmers carry, jumps, throwing, crawling. Those all will fall under the transitional. You implement that based on your client's goals. Again, I see a lot of influencers online doing jumps that are just not appropriate, and they're doing them for too many reps. When I do a jump, own the mechanics, we put our arms behind our body, we come up, we land nice and soft, and we're doing 5 to 10 of those. So these are the core movement patterns.
Go over the vertical push, vertical pull versus horizontal push, horizontal pull.
Great. Yep. Thank you. So vertical would be like a military press, which is going to be your deltoids and your triceps, just your anterior and medial. Pulling down would be like a pull up, which is your back and biceps. You will have downward rotation, which will include your rhomboids and your levator muscles. When we're pushing horizontally, it's going to be your chest and triceps. Synergistic will be your anterior deltoid, your serratus helping your scapula come off the back, as well as your pec minor. And then with a pronated grip, when we pull this way, it will be evening out that push. So it's more posterior deltoid, lats, biceps, and because of retraction at the scapula, it's going to be your middle lower traps as well as your rhomboids. These are all of the things that you will be tested on during your level 1, of which you'll have 2 coaches, Zoom style like this, or if you're in person, you can do it there or at a weekend seminar. Katie and I just got back from New York. We had a great time over there. It's one of our best seminars, really just because of the diversity within the group. We had someone who just got certified. We had someone who is working on getting certified. And then we had a tier 3+ trainer at Equinox. And so gaining that hands-on experience, knowing how to program is what the industry needs more of, not flashiness. And so I'm going to take you through what I would design for a typical male client. I'm thinking guy wants to lose some fat, wants to get a stronger upper body. You might hear stuff like a block check, chest, arm, farm, ripped, jacked, V-taper. Those are the bro lingos that you're going to hear. So I talk like that. So when I'm talking to my bros, I'm going to say, yeah, you probably want to get jacked here, jacked there, but what are your main goals? If a genie were to pop out of a lamp right now, what's your number 1 goal? What area is that? And then we're going to focus the program off of that. So we have a core movement pattern into an accessory. So for the first circuit, I would have, obviously we've cleared my client, no signs of coronary artery disease, done blood pressure, signed the waiver, good to go. We've done a real simple warm-up. Holy shit, I was at Equinox today and I have some great content from it. 31 minutes for the warm-up. And this was a tier trainer. And I just really thought, people may think like, oh, you don't know what's going on, but I watched the whole entire session. And this person, this dude, you could tell he wanted to lose fat. He wanted to get stronger. And he had his iPad right in front of him, counting down from 60 seconds every time he would foam roll. And then he did all these crazy stretches. And it's like, I'm a bro. I know bros. And this guy wants to move. He wants to push some weight around. I would feel more than comfortable with an overweight or obese client to start the workout within 4 or 5 minutes. We're not doing a 1 rep max. We're not doing anything crazy. Kettlebell swings, battle ropes. We look at these patterns over here and we implement exercises that I think that they're going to be decent at. And then we encourage them with positive words, and then we add a little bit of weight. I look at the intensity. If it's too easy, we add some more. And then how can I get engaged as the trainer? So for that first core pattern for most guys, I'm going to do a bench press. I've already seen by now, be assessing him earlier, how he can do a push-up. I don't like personally doing regress push-ups on a wall or on a bench or on their knees unless there's some type of shoulder issue. I will help my client focusing on looking like an arrow, not a T. And that's going to be our chest and tri exercise. From there, I would go into a pull-up variation. And when we do pull-ups, we'll do not as many reps. Again, if this is your typical guy and he hasn't worked out in 3-4 years and he's 240 plus pounds, I probably wouldn't do eccentrics. I would regress it. But your average male, let's say 185, just kind of has a little pot belly, I would help him up there, hold, come down with a supinated grip. So technically be a chin up. and do 3 or 5 of those reps. I would be there the whole time, teach them how to do that. And then I'm going to do some plank variations here. So what I would do is the first one on bench press, I'll probably do 12 reps. And then I would go down to 10 and then 10 again. For the pull-ups, I would be doing 3 to 5 reps, eccentrics and planks. I would go off of intensity, not time. I don't like plank time because everyone just pulls out their phone and stares at it. And it's very mundane and uninteresting. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to check out my client's form, have them do a nice solid plank. I may give them some, perturbations, push them around a little bit, see if they can lift the foot up. Maybe they can tap my shoe. I'm going to get engaged. The second round, I'll add some weight for the bench press. I'll still do 3 or 5 pull-ups. Maybe I'll put a foam roller between their knees for the last round of planks or the second round of planks. And then for that third one, let's see what we can do for 10 reps. And I'm really going to challenge my client. I want them to struggle. I want a spot. I want them to know that they can trust and they feel comfortable knowing that I'm there to help them. For the pull-ups, maybe I'll do a little longer hold at the top than normal. And then for that last plank, maybe I'll do it with them and I'll slap their hand together, clap their hand together. So we're having some fun. Mm-hmm. We're going to rest accordingly. I don't go like 30 seconds I have to rest. It's all based on the individual. This is a multi-jointed exercise followed by a multi-jointed exercise followed by an isolation. When I say multi, it's the elbow and the shoulder both working. So there's a lot of work being done. There's a lot of muscles. And so I want to make sure that my client catches their breath and they don't feel the pressure to try to impress me, because you're going to get that a lot, especially with dudes. They're going to be like, oh man, thinking I'm in terrible shape. I just got to go. I got to impress this person. No. We're going to talk about the stock market. We're going to talk about sports. We're going to talk about guys, girls, relationships, whatever. I want my client to like me. And during this rest period, I'm not going to make it awkward by looking at my phone. Once I determine that they've got back down to their baseline, we're going to add some weight and keep on going. But I want to get to know them during that time. So for the next circuit, we're going to do another CCA. And I'm going to go from an upper body push. So I'm going to start out with an upper body press or vertical push. So I'll do a landmine press. I like doing those. Into a, let's go face pull, into a biceps curl. So the accessories, what that means is it's a pool of exercises that, as I asked earlier, what's the number one area or muscle that you want to work on? This is when we'll typically do isolated exercises. Bicep curls will be a single joint. We'll do ab work. If they had an injury, we could do correctives. If you wanted to work on a pattern, you could just work on the movement competency of that. Cardio you can do for the second circuit or the third circuit. I don't like to do it in the first one because it's just too taxing. And doing a bench press and a pull up into jumping jacks will just smoke your client. And that's not my intent. I always let my clients know it's easy to annihilate you. You just need to run and sprint as hard as you can for the next 30 minutes. You'll die. Doesn't mean I'm a great trainer. My goal is to get you through this 60-minute workout. I want you to be a little bit sore, but not that sore where you're going to be deterred from coming back again. There's nothing worse than having your whole entire body sore for 3 or 4 days, because you got to remember, our clients don't eat very well. They don't drink enough water. They're stressed. They don't sleep enough. We're working with a very, I don't want to say toxic, but it's not the best case example, the average American. So I set those clear expectations that now, a lot of times I'll have this workout written out for them as well, and I'm explaining why I'm doing these. So for the landmine press, making sure we aren't going through the traps, we're driving through the elbow, probably 10 reps per side. Face pulls, I like to use the rope. We're pulling a little higher because when we go higher, we're focusing on the traps, and a lot of guys want bigger traps. If I'm working with girls, I'll typically go chest line because girls don't really care about big traps. They're actually freaked out about them. So then the curls, I tried to show them something they've never done before. Could you imagine? I'm like, dude, I got the best bicep exercise ever. You just grab this dumbbell and you curl up. It's not that exciting. So maybe the first set I'll do I'll do them together, because a lot of guys will do one at a time. So I'll do them together. In the second round, I'll maybe have them hold one side isometrically while they crank out 10. Maybe I'll throw in a Zotman curl, which is you curl supinated and then you rotate, come down eccentric pronated. I like to get engaged as well by pushing my clients' hands down. I'm always thinking in my head, say my client's name at least 3 times. How can I get involved and teach them a new exercise? I'm always going to be learning about my client, because at the end of this session, I'm going to sit them down and I'm going to go over a package or a plan that's going to be best for their goals. So I'm going to quote unquote sell them. I know we get scared about that, but when they've been working with someone and it's almost like we're a friend, it's going to be a lot easier for that ending portion. So I'll probably do 10 on all of these, and each time I'll be going up a little bit. If ever the form is compensated, I'll either stop on that rep or do one more and cue them proper form, and then we'll keep it the same or regress it. We have a video on progressive overload, and I just posted this on our story, and a lot of people got it wrong. There's a girl in our West Hollywood spot, and she's doing first time she's ever bench pressed with the bar, which is 45 pounds. And she did it 10 times. And the first set, she was all over the place. The second round, same weight, same amount of reps. That's progressive overload, because the synchronization, as the spotter recognized, like, wow, that was a lot cleaner. She did a lot better on the second one. So already on an acute basis, the brain is recognized and learn from that experience. That's that neurological connection that takes place, the neuromuscular communication. The reason why we stick to light weights, strengthen ligaments and tendons, focus on the movement competency, and just making sure that their form is good so we can progress. It's like you're teaching someone how to become a better free throw shooter and they never shot one before. The first one, you're going to expect it to suck. Well, how do you get better? You do it more and more and more, and each time you give some pointers. And then after the second round, I'll always ask my client, how are we feeling? You got something left in the tank? More times than not, it's probably right around the 45-minute marker. So maybe if it was going a little fast, it would be 35. If it was going a little slow, it might be 50, 55. I've had sessions where clients were that deconditioned where I've just done 2 of these. It's a case by case. You always have another CCA as your backup in the back pocket. So I'll do another CCA here, of which I will then introduce lower body. So I will choose a pattern, whichever one I feel is appropriate. A lot of times I'll do goblets, and then I'll do here, usually a push up to get the, just to see, work on that upper body. And then we'll do some type of maybe tricep extensions. So the reason I put legs at the end for guys, it's not to say that guys don't want to work on their legs. It's because statistically speaking, males are more deconditioned. We have more coronary artery disease victims who are males than we do that are females. So if you have a guy and you start out with legs, 40% of our mass is below our belt buckle. That's a lot of work that's happening to our heart. I don't want to practice CPR on my clients. And so I see how they're doing here. And then I will progress and make this one a little more challenging. Then I see how they are here. Are there times that we may need to change this? Absolutely. I've done before, because the client was in such bad shape, I'll just do that. I'll do a core and do an accessory. It's a case-by-case example. If my client had a blood pressure of 139/89 and they're just borderline and they haven't worked out in 10 years, it's not going to be smart for me to do this giant circuit with them. So typically 3 circuits is what we'll be able to get through. I like to go multi first and then multi again for a core pattern, and then the accessory. And then I'll put legs in at the end. I'll do push-ups just to see how many we can do, tricep extensions, maybe a tricep exercise that they've never done before. That's if they wanted to work their arms. Maybe they wanted to do, they want to work their traps. I might throw in a carry variation, which technically isn't an accessory, but this could even be a CCC if you wanted to. It could also be a CAA. There's context that needs to be taken in consideration. So, and at the end here, if you have time, what we like to do is show up. We'll do like a little game. So let's pretend like you had 5-10 minutes left. In West Hollywood, we may have them shoot the basketball a couple of times. We have a football there. We might play catch. We might walk outside if it's really nice. Walk around the block, get some sun. Maybe we'll do a plank on one side of the gym, and you hop up and you run to the other side and you get back down in the plank. And when I clap my hands, you hop up and you got to run to the other side. It's like a little variation to keep it fun and engaging. I want to end the session with just enough intensity. My client doesn't pass out, they don't throw up, but they leave thinking, wow, that was worth it. I'm glad and I feel comfortable and safe working with this trainer. But at the same time, I'm paying this premium amount and I understand why. Because when I go to an Equinox, when I go to one of these other spots, I'm paying premium pricing for an uninterested trainer who's sitting there like this on their phone, counting reps. Don't be a rep counter. Get engaged, be professional, ask great questions, help your client up off the ground. And that is what a great trainer will do. I will then schedule my next session with my client. Typically, it's going to be every other day. So if this was Monday, Wednesday would be the next one. Tomorrow, I would text them and say, hey, Bill, how you feeling today? Everything okay? Make sure to get your water in there. Looking forward to seeing you on Wednesday at this time. That's the process of becoming a great trainer, following up with your clients and making sure that they're all right. All right, so here's your typical bro workout that I would do. Now let's get into, in my book, I call it a bra, but we'll call it a hunkette. So what would you typically do with your stereotypical hunkette who's maybe a little overweight that wants to work on her typical areas?
Okay, so yeah, like you were saying earlier, women usually like to focus on that lower body. They're scared of upper body, or they have no confidence as far as their upper body strength. So I usually start with a goblet, but with that being said, I do a body weight squat first and just kind of walk around my client to make sure that everything looks good. So if they are, you know, I don't want to give them any weight or anything else to think about besides just squatting. I don't have them squat in front of a mirror because that can totally mess them up. So I'll just walk around them. If I see that they're doing great, I'll go ahead and hand them a kettlebell, a dumbbell, whatever I have available, into usually a push-up. Sometimes I'll do elevated push-ups on like a box or a bench. It just depends. I like to have them demonstrate what they can do first. So a lot of times you'll see that they try to come down and then they just literally fall onto the ground. So what I try to tell them to do is to focus on lowering slowly and then kind of snaking their body up instead of being on their knees, because most women are immediately going to go to their knees. They're not even going to try a push-up. So what I mean by snaking up is where they kind of just push their torso up first and then get their hips off the ground and get their knees off the ground. And then we repeat it. And they literally, before your eyes, develop the confidence to try a regular push-up after that. And I'll go into normally a plank. So as we all know, in our accessory portion, that's where we get involved as a trainer. Now, my environment is a little bit different than a corporate gym where everybody's looking at you and things like that. I have a private training in my house, so I like to get involved with them, not super crazy, but then again, it also depends on the personality of your client. So if you have a client who's really quiet and reserved, I don't like to, you know, go too crazy with them at first, at least till we get to know each other. But with this variation, I would do, you know, tap my shoe, or I'd have them do a shoulder tap, or I have them do what they call like an RKC or an accordion plank. So for 5 seconds, we'll count off, you know, squeeze your elbows towards your feet and your feet towards your elbows. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then I'll tell them to stay in a plank, but relax that accordion position. And then we do that for 3 rounds. Then I'll go into generally a step up.
And the rep range that you typically use here?
Oh yeah, same thing. For the goblet squats, like 12, sometimes 15. It just depends. Like if they're super deconditioned, we're going to start at like 12. But if they're doing fine, we'll do 15, down to like 10, and then 8. And then each set, if it's appropriate to add more weight each set, there's so many different ways you can progress this to like later down the line. So tomorrow when we work out, we can do a goblet squat with a pause at the bottom. And you tell them to focus on driving their knees out and speed up coming up. So the pause and then, you know, get violent coming up.
How about for the push-ups? What's your rep range?
As many, I always do AMRAP. So I don't like to limit them, and I don't like to give them a goal of like 3 because that's kind of insulting. So I'll just say as many as you can. And then I push them usually to do 3 or 4 more extra because they think they can do 0. So I'm like, in that case, we're going to do 5. And then for the plank, I'll do like 5 rounds of a 5-second squeeze. and 10 seconds in between or whatever. I don't like sit with the clock, but I'll count down to them. I am the clock, right?
There you go.
And then I'll go into usually a step up, because that's actually very surprisingly taxing for most people. Like Chris said earlier, it's kind of like cardio when you do that unilateral, especially step ups. That usually gets their heart rate going. So sometimes I'll add weight, sometimes not. I always like to do the body weight first and just see how they do. If they're like crushing it, here's a weight. Sometimes we'll have it on the same side, opposite sides, contralateral, ipsilateral. You guys should know that vocabulary. Sometimes out, sometimes up, just depends. Each one of those is a new workout while staying within the same pattern of that unilateral. And then for the second core, my vertical pull would be a pull-up. What you're going to find with a lot of female clients is they're scared of pull-ups. They're scared of getting up that high on the bar, and they're scared of pulling themselves up towards the bar. So a lot of times sometimes I'll do Aussies, sometimes not, because those are no picnic either. They're very challenging. Huh?
What's an Aussie?
So an Aussie is where you're under the bar, but you're at a kind of a 45-degree angle from the ground.
I always make a joke. Do you know why they call them Aussies?
Yeah, because it's like down under in Australia.
There you go, down under, down under. That's why.
I have an Australian person that works out at my gym, and she was like, why do they call them Aussies? What the fuck is that all about? And I'm like, honestly, it's because like you're under the bar. She's like, that's not very funny. I'm like, I didn't make it up. So, did you ask me something? Oh, you're talking. Okay.
Do you know how to speak Australian?
No, mate, it's just English with an accent, right?
Here's a funny one. This is other classes. We'll go off topic for a second, but say roll up lights.
Roll up lights.
So it sounds like rollerblades.
Okay. So you know how to say one word in Australian? I'm going to say that to her next time I see her.
All right. What's the accessory for this one? So she was saying, and how many reps do you do here?
As many as possible. So like I said before, I don't like to limit them, but we'll go for like 5.
For those that are, thank you for clarifying. So you're doing an air map in your mind, you may be thinking like, oh, 20 plus. Remember the eccentric focus, you're going to be doing definitely less than 8. Your clients aren't going to be able to do more than that. And it just creates a ton of damage. So set those expectations that you're going to be super sore tomorrow in that back area. Yeah.
So I like a 5. And so a lot of times what I'll do, so that first plank that we did was pronate, so facing down. I will do a side plank here, but this accessory is so fun. I mean, you can pick and choose 1,000 different exercises to do here. I would do a side plank with maybe a leg lift. That depends, once again, on the ability of your client, or like a hip side plank, and just have them focus on squeezing their core, because that's going to be hard just staying in a side plank. On their elbows, sometimes up on their arm. It just depends, once again, on their level of comfort. So for that, we'll just say 30 seconds to hold that, put your arm up and then put it out. Just give them something else to do during that time frame.
Okay.
So for the third one, we'll do a kettlebell RDL. Sometimes I'll use a barbell too, just depending on their body makeup. Some people find it hard to, hold that kettlebell out in front of them. I don't know why. Sometimes it whacks their knees, whatever, but just be flexible with that. Or you could do dumbbell RDLs, and that will cover our hinge pattern. And then for this, so we have our horizontal push. So I'll do an overhead dumbbell press here, or barbell, banded. There's so many variations that you could do. And then depending on how my client is feeling, I'll either cut out the accessory and we'll go straight into our 5-minute Metcon. But here we'll focus on their goals. Once again, if you want to do the accessory, you could do like a banded lateral walk or a banded monster walk or banded kickbacks. My female clients love the freaking bands, right? Even though we know that's not completely building up their glutes as much. It's a great burnout set. They're really going to feel it in their glutes. And that's, like Chris was saying earlier, what they really want to walk away with, that feeling of, oh yeah, got that good burn in my glutes. So if there's time left over, we'll do a 5-minute rowing. We'll do a sled push.
What is a Metcon?
So metabolic conditioning, I love getting their heart rate up. So of course, through our assessment, we learn that their max heart rate based on their age minus 220 gives us like a rough, well, 220 minus their age gives us a rough estimate of their max heart rate. I love to get them up to that at least once per session, always at the end though, because it's going to smoke them. Now we don't stay here. We don't do CrossFit style. We don't do any of that. As long as they reach that max heart rate, I'm good with it. And for most people, it's not going to take too much. So rowing, generally 500 meters takes about 2.5 minutes for most people. Or if you have one of those ski erg machines, I have a sled that we push. You could do ball slams. I have a client that loves to do ball slams. So we'll do those. And yeah, so that last 5 minutes is where they earn their eucalyptus towel, their cold eucalyptus towel that's in the refrigerator. And I unscrew that jar and they reach in and grab one and it's all worth it. And that's been a real big hit with my clients lately.
I love that. And so for those that are watching, and it's important. So if you live near Memphis, go check out Katie's garage gym. It's awesome. Shadow her, bring her some Noble or some Lululemon. For me, it's whiskey, but it's important to understand what we're doing here is if you were to go to the gym right now on a Monday at 5 o'clock, these stereotypes still run true. You're going to find typically men are on the machines or the dipshits making a lot of sound, mansplaining exercises, and they're just a bunch of idiots being gorillas. Ladies typically are going to be on the cardio or in classes. It's not to say that's right or wrong. What we're doing here is we're teaching you how to play the game. Because if I were to come into you and you were to start out with doing a hip thrust or a booty band walk, and you don't explain to me why we're doing that, I'm thinking, what the hell are we doing? And you could be like, oh, do you like this? I'm like, oh yeah, this is cool. I'll put on a facade and I'll say it, but I'm not going to sign up because you're not listening to me. And if you have a guy who comes in and he says, I want to get jacked, you better not fucking put me on a stability ball or a Bosu ball doing a single arm press saying, oh, we got to build your stability in your core first. Because something inside of my gorilla body, I'm thinking, I want to go move some weight. I don't have to do a 1 rep max press. But you got to listen to your client. If they like doing a certain exercise, you got to do it. And as you heard Katie say, I have a client that likes to do ball slams. Great. Do them at the end. Ask your client, what's your favorite exercise to do? Pull up something on Instagram. Who's your favorite person to follow? Let's check them out. And I'm going to look at an exercise that they're doing, and I'm going to make it 10 times better because we're smart. We're fitness professionals. Don't confuse that with influencers. If you have a gym and you have some bells and whistles and a client says, oh, what's that Jacob's ladder thing? Oh, don't worry. We're doing that at the end of the workout today. Strap them up, teach them how to do it. That's the fun. If you do the whole workout where you're making it fun, you're compromising the force production. Your clients are ultimately not going to get results. Sure, doing battle ropes and Jacob's ladder and all that stuff for the whole entire 60 minutes will be hard, but don't confuse hard with getting results. Yeah. With that being said, I think it's also important to recognize that I could do this hunk workout with a hunkette, and I could do this hunkette one with a male. So it's a case by case. I've rarely had a girl that will come back, I really want to improve my bench press. But if she did, this is exactly what I would do. I would focus on pressing. I'd ask her, what's your 1RM? Katie, what's your 1RM on bench?
165.
If I were to hear a client say, I'd say, are you kidding me? Let's go check that out right now. And I would stop the assessment and go out there because you don't come across a lot of hunkettes that can bench more than 135. And so I'd go there and check her out and see how she's moving. Like, oh shit, this is impressive. We're going to be benching a lot. We're going to do a whole day of benching. It's specific to her. Newer trainers get fixated on, well, what happens if this client is really, really good shape and they come in? Or what if an athlete comes in? Or what if someone who wants to train 5 days a week or split routine? What do you think about back and biceps? Just because that's how you used to train in the past, that's bro science. It doesn't mean that's what you're going to do with your clients. So what the system does is it gives you an ACE in your back pocket where you don't have to get flustered during the assessment because you're just going to go CCA. You're going to regress if they're deconditioned or if they have injuries. You're going to progress with intensity and then you show them new exercises as the accessory. Always show your clients a new exercise. For beginners, keep it 10 plus reps to strengthen ligaments and tendons. We're focusing on the movement competency, owning the exercise, and then you go into the next circuit. Each person is going to have their exercises that they enjoy. Katie may really like doing a goblet squat or a back squat, a lunge, whatever. That's on you to really be great at teaching that. I'm great with teaching bench press and hip thrusts, and I have my 5 to 8 exercises. Now, for clients, it's really important, again, to set clear expectations that every workout isn't going to be different. Think about if you ever played high school track or basketball or any sport, workouts were not 100% different every day. You have your meat and potatoes. We want to get more conditioned. We're going to focus on that. We want to get better at shooting. We're going to focus on that. That's what we need to explain to our clients. The core is the first core, the second core. That's where your clients are going to get their amazing results. So after a month of training, we're going to get down to 8 reps and 6 reps, and we're going to increase the volume. We're going to be doing more sets. They're going to be getting stronger, and their body, their physique is going to represent that.
Yeah. And it's important to bring it up to your clients too. Sorry.
Absolutely. I was just going to say real quickly, the A is when you want to change up the exercise and keep it fun based on what they want. Go ahead, Katie.
Yeah. So it's really important that you bring the attention of your clients' wins to their, bring it to them and say, hey, listen, 2 months ago, I thought you were going to die on this row machine after 3 minutes. Like, I wouldn't put one of my clients on the row machine for more than 3 minutes. And I was like, take it really, really slow on a level 3. But then last week he was on the row machine for 5 minutes and could hold a conversation the entire time. And I really made sure to bring that to his attention and say, do you realize that when you first started with me, I literally would not put you on a rower for more than 1 minute. You just had an entire 5-minute conversation with me while you were on the rower, and you are not even out of breath right now. And he was about ready to cry, seriously, because where it took 6 months, like just trusting the process and being consistent is going to get them their results. So bring their wins to their attention.
I love that.
They don't see it.
And what you'll be able to do is use those part of your sales technique, because you can use the feel, felt, found, where a lot of my clients feel, felt, found. So they may feel the same way, but what we found is by implementing actually, it's not feel, felt, found, it's felt. I screwed it up.
I can't help you out here either. I don't know what.
No. Feel, found, felt. So a lot of my clients feel the same. A lot of my clients felt the same way. But what we found is by implementing this process, they were able to, I screwed it up. I'll have to look.
They actually felt different.
Yeah, no, it's a sales time. I totally blew that one away. But I definitely agree with the wins. And so I put down here PR, personal records, because if I'm working with this client right here, for me on a bench press, that last set, I'm going to record it. Maybe I record it on my phone, get their permission to post on social media. But then 2 weeks later, do it again. And you're going to see that the bar plus 10 on each side, which would be 65 for 10. 2 weeks later, they're doing 25s for 10. And so you celebrate those. It's a great job. Our PR now is 95, and have PR days. Maybe every Friday is you choose 3 exercises and you're constantly setting PRs. And so this program for the week would be Monday right here. And if I'm working at a corporate gym, if the bench press is taken on a Monday, I can still do the landmine press or a goblet first. You can just adjust that. Or you could just take the pattern, which is a horizontal push, and put in another exercise. So maybe you want to do a bench press and that's taken. Well, you can do an incline dumbbell press. That's fine. So being able to think on the fly is really important. And that shows confidence to your clients. So then the second workout may be a landmine press first into some pull-ups now, and do a new plank or ab exercise for 3 rounds. The second one now, instead of doing bench press, we're doing incline press. And we're going to be doing push-ups, and then we're going to do another bicep exercise. And then we're going to end off on some step-ups into, they really like the carry from last time, so we do that again, but we show them a suitcase one. And then for the game at the end, they weren't sore at all, and they were kind of like, I want to be a little sore next time. So it's great. You put in a 5-minute push-up challenge. And so then you incorporate some gain that will help them get sore in there. Remember, just to reiterate, soreness doesn't mean shit for the most part. but your clients want to sweat, they want to feel it. And so if you don't communicate with them, they're thinking in their mind that the intensity wasn't there. So that's just something you need to talk through. Any last things that you wanted to touch on, Katie, before we call it a day?
No, not necessarily. I think that, like you were saying earlier, it's such a great way of programming, because you can just plug and play. Show them how you would put, for the female program, put the 3 into the 1 and the 2 into the 3 for the next workout.
Yep. So you just take that right there. You could literally move it up. So here's now your second workout. Yep. So they come in, and instead of doing the kettlebell RDL, maybe you show them the landmine RDL. And then instead of doing the overhead press here, maybe we do the incline dumbbell, and then you do the band walks again. So this right here, we're using the same pattern. We're giving some different exercise, but every workout isn't 100% new. I'm gonna do goblet squats probably here second. Maybe I'll use the same way. It might even go a little heavier. We're gonna do a lot of push-ups. We're gonna do a lot of chin-ups. I'm just gonna move them around within the program. That's what's called a plug and play. So that third day, the third workout of the week, start with step-ups, and then you're gonna do pull-ups again, and then you do another bicycle exercise, and you go to back to your RDL with the kettlebell, and then you do a push-up variation, and then you show them a suitcase walk. And your clients will never get bored with this. I know as a new trainer, you're thinking, but your clients want results. They want to be communicated with openly and thoroughly. And so you show them a new exercise on these accessories. The Metcons can be different every time if it's appropriate. And your clients will never, ever get bored. They're going to get results. And that's what they're going to be excited about for those referrals and to retain your clients long-term. So this is how we implement our CCA. These classes are held every Wednesday. Katie teaches these, and we have our anatomy on Fridays, and then we have our exercise variation / regressions and progressions to help build your exercise vocabulary. This is the core chunk of your level 1 test that's taken when you are ready. You can sign up for that online once you pay for it. We have different deals anywhere from $49 to $99 to take the test. You'll schedule a time. You'll be in front of 2 coaches. You got to go over the 17 muscles of the shoulder, 20 of the lower body, the 8 core movement patterns with the agonists and synergists. You got to be able to recognize where the muscles are at. And we may even ask you how to regress or progress certain movements. And then on the spot, you got to design a program, CCA, all within 10 minutes. If you were to tell us the same exact workout, we're going to recognize it. So we're going to challenge you and say, okay, the bench press isn't available. What can you do? So you need to be able to critically think on the fly. And that's why we're challenging the entry standards with this test, because you need to be able to talk through it. A client's never going to ask you, well, what muscle's working during this exercise, A, B, or C, Chris? You need to know what is the main mover of a bench press, your chest. Why is it that your triceps are working when your hands are closer in, and how to program appropriately. And this is exactly what we provided for you guys.